Welcome, friends, to Know Before You Go for the 13th Sunday in Ordinary Time. I'm Father Andrew Carl Wisdom, Vicar for Mission Advancement and newly minted Assistant Novice Master. Praise be God, we have 8 new young men for our novitiate next year in Colorado, and I'm a part of the team now. And thank so many of you who support us in our vocations. You know, this weekend is the 90th birthday of my dear Aunt Grace, a longtime school teacher, a current communion minister to the homebound, and a mother of 8. She has been warning me all year long that no one in her family has ever lived till 90. Well, I told her just recently, Aunt Grace, the numbers for your party are only growing. This is no time for you to go home to God and leave all these crazy relatives running amok without your supervision. And then I had to use a little old-fashioned Catholic guilt. So I said, and you don't want to be responsible for disrupting a painfully planned, long-awaited family gathering. Well, her spasms of giggles on the phone this last week told me she's going to be around for the party. Now, what happens after that? We don't know what she or God has up their sleeve, but it's going to be okay for the party. Like the woman from the book of Kings today, my Aunt Grace is very much a woman of influence. Oh, she doesn't get all the Instagram hits that those women influencers we always hear about, Kylie Jenner, Kim Kardashian, and Beyonce get. But as far as our family's concerned, she's a top influencer to all of us, again and again, with her wisdom and her grace. She has an observing and appreciative eye for people and situations. She sees a need and makes the kind of artful, considerate suggestion that the woman in our first reading does to her husband about giving a well-appointed room to this constantly wandering preacher and prophet, Elisha. In a key verse left out in the middle of this wonderful story, a grateful Elisha offers to speak to the local authorities on her behalf in appreciation for her intentional kindness. She says, that won't be necessary, really. The prophet still wants to do something for this generous woman. And learning she is barren, in God's name, he promises her a child a year later from their meeting. And what happens? A lifelong emptiness of not having a child that the woman had accepted is now a space filled with new, unexpected life. What is barren, empty in us, God's generosity fills with new life. For God, it appears, will not be outdone in generosity. You know, friends, it's the little things in life, the small, thoughtful gestures that make an outsized impact and difference in our lives. Like putting yourself out there genuinely and being authentically hospitable. Or as we see in today's gospel, recognizing in even the lowest person by the world's standards, the image of Christ and offering a simple cup of water. The impact that has. In both cases, what do we have? A generosity without agenda. A generosity without agenda. No more hidden reason than simple kindness. A pure motive to see and to care for the other as Christ in the moment. Rather than the typical response, what's in it for me? Not my concern. I'm pretty busy. The truth is we are all people of influence. Influencers, powerful beyond measure. What and how are we using our influence? Where is our generous intentionality for others? Generosity without agenda. Purity of motive. Intentionality in our actions to others. This is what our scriptures are all about today. It sounds lovely until it gets in the way of our to-do list or our to-have list. This is what Jesus means about taking up our cross and losing our life to really find it. It's risking what we instinctively cherish the most, our agendas, our ego, our opinions, our way of doing things. It reminds me of my father's challenge to me and my 10 siblings. Before your day ends, children, ask yourself, what have I contributed into the life of another beyond my wants and needs? Have I been willing to patiently listen to someone who tells the same story over and over again? Have I allowed myself to be inconvenienced in my schedule because someone needed in that moment to be helped, to be comforted? Have I let someone else talk, restraining my need to throw out my opinion or always be right? Have I risked my life's plan for God's unfolding life plan for me? That's the challenge that confronted me 25 years ago this very month when I was a nonprofit business executive in Chicago, downtown, working every day. Well, at dawn one morning, I walked across the street under the overpass of Lakeshore Drive, where I'd lived on the lakefront, and I decided I'm going to have it out with God. He wouldn't get off my back. I told him I couldn't add any more to my schedule. I was already on these Catholic boards, community boards, doing plenty of volunteer work, and heck, I was already employed in nonprofit causes in all of my jobs up to that point. What more did he want of me? Yet I felt this relentless hunger, this constant tugging from God. But I told God in no uncertain terms that morning, I can't fit you anymore into my life. And in the deafening silence that followed, I heard God's response. You don't fit me into your life. I fit you into mine. Trust me. Well, after a bit of a struggle, a bit of a long struggle with my ego, God won. And trust won that day. Taking up our cross is not trying to fit God into our life, but fitting our life into His life. When we use our personal influence to generously put our love for Christ above all else as the compass directing our lives, God fills our barrenness, our hunger, our emptiness with His love, His light, and His life. And then we take it out to others in unique ways because each of us is called to a generosity without agenda. Save one. The love of God before all else. The one love that is bigger and bolder and beyond blood relationships that usually bind us like no other. This love, this call of God, is a spiritual, not a biological, binding love centered in Him. The only way a true loving of our families or of others or of our very lives can even happen. Family is His original gift to us. He's not saying don't love our families, but He is saying center yourself, your very life, not in the gift, but in the giver of the gift. And therein lies the power of our personal influence when we do that. Use it generously, like my Aunt Grace, and without fear of the cross it may bring, like the woman in that first reading in Kings. For God Himself will never be outdone in generosity. God bless you.